afternoon, my name is Ian Pelham Turner, and today I'm talking about the third in our series of historic palaces for the royalchild.com and Royally Invited Limited. Buckingham Palace has a checkered history in its lifetime, going back to the days of Henry VIII when land was first exhumed from marshland. But over the centuries it has been reappeared, redecorated and redesigned, especially by one designer called John Nash. George III first bought Buckingham House in 1761 from the Duke of Buckingham, after whose name it was eventually named as Buckingham Palace, for his wife Queen Charlotte to use as a comfortable family home close to St James's Palace, where many of the court functions were held. Buckingham House became known as the Queen's House, and 14 of George's III's 15 children were born there. In 1762, work began on remodelling the house to the King's requirements, to designs by St William Chambers at a cost of £73,000. George IV, on his accession in 1820, decided to reconstruct the house into a pied-à-terre, using it for the same purpose as his father, George III. As work progressed, and as late as 1826, the King had a change of heart. With the assistance of his architect John Nash, he set about transforming the house. Parliament agreed initially to a budget of £150,000, but the King pressed for £454,000 as a more realistic figure. Nash retains the main block, but doubles its size by adding a new suite of rooms to the garden side facing west. Faced with a mellow bath stone, the external style reflected the French neoclassical influence favoured by George IV. The remodelled rooms are state and semi-state rooms, which remain virtually unchanged since Nash's time. By 1829, the costs had escalated to nearly £500,000. Nash's extravagant costs, his job, and on the death of George IV in 1830, his younger brother William IV took on Edward Bloor to finish the work. The King never moved into the palace. Indeed, when the Houses of Parliament were destroyed by fire in 1834, the King offered the palace as a new home for Parliament, but the offer was declined. Queen VII, just 3 weeks after her ascension, and in June 1838, she was the first British sovereign to leave from Buckingham Palace for a coronation. Her marriage to Prince Albert in 1840 soon showed up the palace's shortcomings. The present forecourt of the palace, where changing of the guard takes place, was formed in 1911 as part of the Victoria Memorial Scheme. The gates and railings were completed in 1911. The north centre gate is now used for everyday entrance to the palace, whilst the central gate is used for state occasions and the departure of the guard after changing of the guards. This work was finally completed just before the outbreak of the First World War in 1914. So, as you can see, Buckingham Palace has a checkered history over many, many years, and thousands of visitors now come and flock to the palace each and every year to visit the different staterooms that can be seen by the general public and tourists. So this is Ian Pelham Turner in Green Park and Buckingham Palace for the royalchild.com. Thank you so much for looking at our product again. Helena and I look forward to your response.